Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 84. And what we usually do is we have a topic that we talk about for the first few minutes. It can be anything basketball that we want to talk to you guys about that we think will help you grow your game. So we're going to do that here in just a second. While we do that, I want you guys to send us your questions on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. You can also send to us on Facebook, Google Plus, in the chat here on the YouTube video this is streaming to, and in the Q&A app on this Google Plus Hangout. So just make sure that you send us your questions because we're going to answer them here on the air. We'll give you a shout out. And you can also, or it would also be cool if you would go out and tell your friends and family to come show up and watch these live shows because it helps us be able to do more cool things, get more cool guests in here, and be able to do more fun things for you guys. So go out there, tell everybody to watch this stuff. Okay, so today's topic that we're going to talk about here at the very top is how to get off the bench and onto the floor. And really, we're going to give you some keys to getting your status as a bench warmer upgraded. So, what are some things that people can work on to get off the bench?
The obvious things that come to mind as you think about players getting off the bench and want to get off the bench has to do with certainly your preparation. And, we could talk about that forever, and we do talk about that kind of stuff an awful lot every Sunday. The thing that's really important, I think, though, is that attitude is so huge as far as coaches recognizing you as a player. Let's talk about bench decorum. One of the things that happens when we're on the bench is that oftentimes those players who are not playing very much move to the far end of the bench, as far away from the coaches as they can be. And when they're there, they're not really engaged in the basketball game. Being around this game for a long time, oftentimes I've seen players on other teams and players on our teams who are screwing around. They're not engaged in the game. They don't really know what's going on.
Or they're kicking back. They're playing games and checking people out in the stands and trying to make eye contact with people, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And, the coaches, that doesn't go unnoticed. One of the things that you find out is that coaches are really aware, particularly during games, what is going on the floor and around them. You just become very in tune to all of that. Now, some recommendations that I would make for everybody who is kind of in that not playing very much mode is this. Number one, I would sit as close to the coach as I could. Get up right next to him. In fact, I've told that to a number of players in the last few years. Listen, if you want to get in the game, get up and be in that seat number one, so when the coach turns around, you're the first face he sees every time he turns to look down that bench.
Yeah, I mean, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
If you're not right there, I mean, he's not going to be, you should be the first thing that pops into his mind.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go looking for you either, and so be there so that you're right next to him or right next to the assistant coach.
And that also, it does two things. It puts you right there in his field of vision for when he's looking for people to substitute. Number two, it shows that you're into the game, and it's not like you're at the end of the bench goofing off. Like you are observing what's going on. You're probably thinking about what you can do to better serve the team. You know what the other team is doing and what your team is trying to do, and you're not just going to go in there blind and run around with as a chicken with its head cut off. I mean, you really are in the game.
Well, and you hear coaches making their comments to one another and also to players on the floor. If you're sitting down at the very end of the bench, oftentimes you don't hear any of that, and so you're kind of out into kind of the zone by yourself. And when you isolate yourself like that, oftentimes your attitude becomes kind of hokey. You screw around, as Casey was mentioned, and you're not really into the game.
Mm-hmm.
If I take and turn and one of my players at the far end of the bench that I want to bring in, I want to know that he's up to speed on what's happening. Does he know that the other team is playing a man or zone defense? Does he know who their best shooters are? Does he know who's really shooting well at that particular time?
Yeah, because he doesn't want to have to give the guy the cliff notes right there before he puts him in the game. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the thing that often happens too, and this happens probably to everybody, is every team, every coach, is the fact that you'll put somebody in and he will go in and he will go in for a player that's been defending their best player. And what happens is that he plays him like he's a sub. You know, he gives him plenty of room, doesn't pressure him, and so the guy just lights it up. Okay, and then the coach is really ticked off because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, being on the floor. So I think that just you're being present in the moment, observant, and
analytical.
Yeah, and when players come off the floor, you step up, give them a hand, congratulate them, say good job or whatever, and that all of that tends to help team esprit de corps, and
it shows your leadership too.
Yeah. And now, you know, not every player that plays on a basketball team or any team for that matter is going to be a first team player. I mean, the players are sorted out by their abilities and maybe their physical abilities or their skills that kind of separate them out as being maybe the top tier or the better players on the team. And that's just the way it is. And the more that you get out of the little league mode or way of thinking and into a more competitive level of basketball, and I'm talking essentially about varsity basketball or varsity sports in general in high school and then on into college and whatnot, then you're going to be playing to win, and you're not playing just to make sure that everybody is happy when the game is over. And oftentimes there are people who are unhappy because they're not getting to play. I can remember being in that mode myself when I was a junior in high school. I wasn't a great player by any shakes, but I can remember I did sit as close to the coaches as possible, and I don't know if I did it on really thinking about it very much, but I was kind of into the game, and I didn't play very much the first couple of games in my senior year, and not much at all during my junior year, and then all of a sudden we're playing this team, and the coach called my name, and I was just dumbfounded, and so he called me up and he said, "I don't want that guy to get another shot." Okay. And so I went out and put just a tremendous amount of effort and whatnot into stopping that guy, number one, from catching the ball, and number two, from shooting the ball. And since I was 6'2" and had these long spidery arms, and he was about 5'10", it was really difficult for him to get off shots if he did catch it.
Yeah, so I mean, our number one tip is to really just get up by the coach, be in the game, be present, be analyzing. You probably have an idea where the coach is going to put you in if you're going to go in. I mean, you probably have a kind of a collaboration between another guy where you kind of are his substitute. So if you are in the game and you know what's going on and you kind of know the situation when you go out on the floor, maybe you'll start playing better than the guy that you sub for, and then pretty soon you'll be the guy instead of that guy.
That's right.
That's right. So
true.
Our number one tip is get up there, sit next to the coach, be in the game. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do.
Oh yeah.
So there's things like showing initiative. That's part of that is knowing what situation you are going to play in the game and how to play it. But that's like diving for balls, playing tough, tenacious defense, taking a charge. Making sure that you're running back on defense and you're not just letting the play go. I mean, there's a ton of things to show initiative, but if you show initiative, that shows you that you are in the game and that you value your time on the floor. So if you do that, the coach is going to recognize that.
Well, yeah, and another thing that is really important to every coach is just how hard you play, and effort can't be underestimated. I mean, that is so key in being successful, and that's one of the reasons why some really pretty good players kind of get derailed. I can remember having a few players that would not make a commitment to play hard, and especially on defense. They wanted the basketball so they could do their thing. And in reality, they were kind of submarining the efforts of everybody else on the team. And so I can remember having a couple of guys who I just kind of demoted, and even though they're pretty good players, but they just wouldn't play hard. And if you don't play hard with effort and just really scratch and claw and dive on balls and stuff like that, you're not going to win.
Yeah, and you
You
will
have to
find
win.
yourself on the bench, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of where you belong.
Yeah, it is. And here's the other thing is that oftentimes I hear parents they will talk to me as an aside. Well, Johnny's not getting to play, and he's better than so and so. Well, here's the thing that's really important for everybody to understand is that parents are not at practice every day. Most of them don't know that much about the game. They know about Johnny and they know what they think Johnny can do. But then you get Johnny into a mix of other players, and maybe Johnny is not as shining as maybe he would be in his parents' eyes. And so one of the things they start moaning and groaning about the fact that Johnny is not getting into the games and whatnot. And then Johnny begins to moan and groan, and he becomes a cancer on his team because he is undermining the direction that the team is supposed to be going in because he is criticizing other players. He's criticizing the coaches. I'm better than this guy. I'm better than that guy. I should be able to play more. And so the upshot of it is that if you want to get on the floor and get on there more, then you want to be a positive, have a positive effect on your team and teammates. And that includes the coaches. And, when you hear as players, when you hear parents complaining about you're not getting to play, then you should engage them and not fall into that trap that, yeah, they're right. I am better than Bill. I should be on the floor. And maybe the thing is like goes more like this. Listen, mom, dad, actually he's a much better player than I am. I'm working really hard to improve my game so I can play like him. But the important thing is that you have to take some responsibility for yourself as a player, what you can do or what you cannot do or will not do.
Yeah, and that leads us into kind of our last suggestion here is your attitude.
Yeah.
One of the things that will definitely get you on the bench is a crappy attitude. It doesn't matter if you're the best player or a shutdown player. If you have a crappy attitude, you can infect your entire team, and so you essentially take 5 guys down with you. And you sometimes you might find yourself not on the team, not even on the bench.
Yeah.
You will be off the team.
It truly.
So one of the things that you have to realize is that it's not all about you. It's about the team, and so you have to make decisions that are going to benefit the team. And having a positive attitude, knowing your role, and just kind of building up your teammates, which is another part of leadership. Is being positive, supporting your teammates, congratulating them on their successes, and being kind of the positive force will really help you find time out on the floor, because if you're doing that, the coach sees it and he sees that positive energy can translate into success on the floor, so you'll find yourself out there.
Well, and basketball teams are a microcosm of players and players' abilities and players' attitudes and a lot of other things as well. And one of the things that's so important is that you need to kind of accept where you are, not for the fact that you can't maybe improve, but respect the fact that you're not playing or not starting in a basketball game. And, one of the things that has always been kind of interesting to me is that people are so starting is so important for most everybody. Well, in reality, starting your best players is not necessarily always the best thing to do. I would rather have my best players in the game the last 8 minutes. That's where I really want them. And then maybe we start guys from alternating group who can get in and get some time. And then when it really gets down to crunch time, then I want to have my better guys in right there. And so being a starter is kind of, I don't know the right words I want to use here, but maybe overworked a little bit. And so anyway, everybody on that team has got a role. Once you have been selected to play on a particular team, let's say that maybe you're player number 14 or player number 15. And coaches usually do not lay their teams out like that. They maybe go the first 7 or 8 people, and then there's a group that kind of interchange after that. Accepting that to this extent. I'm going to do something, I'm going to do everything that I can to get myself into a higher position on this basketball team. But while I'm here, I'm going to make sure that I work really hard at practice. I'm going to really contest those guys who play most of the time so that they get better. Because when they get better, probably I'm going to get better as well. So those are all things that are really important for you to get off the bench. Nobody likes to really be there for a whole game. So.
Yeah, so try to use those kind of tips and mindsets when you're trying to get more playing time, or if you find yourself on the bench. Don't be the guy that's just at the very end, excuse me, excuse me, that's, messing around with his buddies and pointing at people in the stands and not being part of the game. I mean, that's you don't deserve to be in the game if you're doing that stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up our topic right there. If you guys have questions, now is the time to send them to us, because we're going to spend the next 40 minutes trying to answer as many questions as we possibly can. If you want to get them answered, now would be the time, because we usually don't have enough time to get to everybody. So send us your questions. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. We are Shot Science on Facebook, Google+. You can hit us up in the YouTube stream of this, in the comments, or on the Google+ app right now. So send us your questions. Anything basketball, that would be great. Go out and tell your friends and family to show up. That helps us get more cool guests and stuff on. So let's do it. All right, this one is from, let's see, we'll go to Twitter first. This one is from Dato Kuchek Hidze. I totally messed that up. Let's see, what is his? He's at D Kuchek Hidze on Twitter. He says, which basketball ball is better for playing? I guess he's just asking, like, which ones which basketballs are the best?
Well,
the one that bounces.
Most every basketball company makes a series of different basketballs, and they make them so that they have different composites. Sometimes they're leather balls, some they're composite balls.
Indoor, outdoor.
They're indoor, outdoor. They're rubber, vinyl, not vinyl, but rubber basketballs. And so if you're talking about a game ball that would be good to practice with, one of the things that most everybody makes a good practice basketball that feels like a game ball. And they're all about the same weight. One thing that kind of varies from basketball to basketball are the seam widths. In other words, the width of the seams that are found on the basketball. You get it here. These seam widths kind of vary. Sometimes they're wider, sometimes they're narrower, and it probably has to do a lot with grip. But
you should find the one that you like.
Yeah, exactly. Because depending on where you are too, if you're not in the United States, you're probably going to be using a ball that's probably going to be a what are the
Moltons.
The molten balls.
Well, here's my thoughts on it too. Is that if it's just like playing an instrument or anything where you have to put in the time to do it. If you don't like the basketball or you don't like the instrument, you're not going to pick it up.
Yeah.
So if you like the feel of a ball like this, then you're going to actually pick it up and use it. So you got to go down to the sporting goods store. Pick up as many of those basketballs as you can, get a feel for them, see how they bounce, and that's really how you pick one that you personally will use and like. It's also probably a good idea to find out which ones you're going to be using when you're actually playing in games and stuff, because that will help you have the feel already kind of built into your hands. But I think the best thing you can do is find one that you like, that feels good, and get that one. Because if you get one that just looks cool and you don't like the feel of it, you're never going to pick it up and use it.
Right, and the feel, I think, is one of the things that's really important to the basketball. And the more you play with it, particularly if you're playing outside on blacktop or concrete, you'll find that it wears the dimpling off the basketball pretty quickly. But I prefer this Spalding ball because this is called an all-surface basketball, used indoor, outdoor, and it's not an expensive basketball. I usually buy these like a place like what is it? The Sports Authority, Big Five, and I wait till they have sales. And oftentimes I go to Big Five and I can buy this basketball, which really lasts really well. And we use it as an outdoor ball most of the time, and it's used either one. But this will last, a long time, maybe 6 months. before it starts to really kind of
With a lot of
degrade
wear.
with a lot of wear, a lot of wear.
Okay, that's enough spot
Okay.
for Spalding. They didn't pay for that. Okay, so really, just find one that you like and feels good because you want to use it. Okay, this one is from the Tennis Guy 1000 who says, "Is there any shooting workouts that you guys recommend?" Yes. Okay. First off, I will say our form shooting drill is the one that you should use when you're trying. Excuse me, when you're trying to dial in your shooting mechanics, and that's the one that you really need to start with is that. Then when you get into actual kind of game speed, game intensity workouts, there's a lot of things you can do. You can focus just on one particular skill for a little while, and that might be catch or shooting off the dribble or shooting off the catch, where you're doing a kind of like a curl drill or something like that, where you're flipping it to yourself or somebody's passing it to you, and you're doing it at game speed and game intensity. That's great too. If you want like an all-encompassing workout that we really like, go check out Dennis Stanton's spin shooting workout drill. And I think it's like a 20 or 30-minute drill where it's putting you through all these different game-specific, situations, and it's also helping you develop your form. You're going to all the different spots on the floor, and you're working from close in to close or to far back. And I think it's just a really great one. And we did a show with him a few months ago, I think, and you can go check that one out. But also, if you go to Dennis Stanton spin shooting, I think you should be able to find his shooting drill there. And he goes through and he shows you the whole thing.
Right.
Okay. This one is from Devin Elson, who says, "Hey coaches, I'm usually a star player, usually playing the whole game. However, the transition into high school is going to be tough because I know there are going to be games that I don't play. How would I be able to come off the bench?" Well, hopefully all of the tips that we just gave you are ones that will help you do that. But one of the things that you need to do is just realize that being on the bench at the beginning of the season is not necessarily where you'll be at the end of the season. So if you start out on the bench and you put all those things into action that we talked about at the beginning of the show, you will probably find yourself on the floor more and more and more and more, and by the end you might be the guy again. So that's kind of the mindset you need to have. Don't be bummed out because it's like, you're going to a new place. You got to figure things out before you can go in there and really be the guy. I know that any team that I first started on and that was already established before me, so playing on the JV when I was a freshman or playing on the varsity as a sophomore, I mean, each one of those times, it wasn't like I just walked out on the floor and could be who I felt comfortable enough to be right away. You have to feel out other players. You got to kind of figure out the coach. You got to kind of show the coach what you can do and where you will be the most beneficial out on the court. So don't think that when you start on the bench that you're going to finish on the bench. All right? Okay. This one is from KFYC in the comments who says, "How do you make the team?"
Well, if you go to our videos on our YouTube channel, you'll find a video called Make the Team. And there it outlines a number of things that will help you in making the team. The coaches are looking for certain things whenever they are trying to select people for their team. One of the things is they're looking for people who are quick. They're looking for people who have some size. They're looking for people who have some skills. And they're looking for people who have great attitudes. And they're looking for players who will play really hard and show just great effort in their playing. So go to that video. It lines it out pretty well for you, what you need to do.
And we also did a series with the Santa Cruz Warriors D-League, NBA D-League coach, too. And he talks about how to make the team from his perspective. They're very similar to ours, but his perspective might be something that you want to check out too. So check out that playlist. I think it's part of the how to make the team video there. Okay, so this one is from Paul Perry, who says, "I usually work out 4 times a week as a basketball player. I'm wondering what ideal for total performance, split or full body workouts. I have a relatively balanced and strong frame, but I'm obviously looking for an edge that will help me get stronger. Thanks for everything you guys do." Okay, we get this one usually once every week or two where people are asking what their workout should be or their training should be outside of like actual basketball. Take it from somebody like me who I'm in the gym most all the time, doing weights and training and cross training and doing stuff like that. I think especially if you're a young person, you shouldn't really be doing any of that stuff. If you're a young person, you should really be, if you're going to do any kind of training, you should be doing functional training, which is stuff like, push-ups, pull-ups, body weight squats, lunges, plyometric stuff where you're using your own body weight, dynamic stretching, interval training where you're doing sprinting sessions with high impact or high energy intervals with like a low energy interval where you're sprinting and then you're walking back, sprinting and walking back, because that kind of closely emulates how you will actually be conditioning yourself or be conditioned on the floor when you play basketball. When people start getting into lifting weights and doing all that, that's fine, but you should be of a certain age, probably at least 16, 17 years old, I think is kind of the age where that starts being appropriate. And you should have somebody that knows very that has certifications really in how to train, especially young kids, but anybody in general, on how to train you how to do that and how to not injure yourself, because you can really get hurt, and you can also build in imbalances in your body too if you don't do things the right way. So I like to think that training for basketball using functional training is really the best thing. And you're asking about how to get the edge. You will find yourself getting a bigger edge if you spend more time actually playing basketball than you do lifting weights and all that. Sure, it's great if you think you can add 10 pounds of muscle and then step on the floor and it's going to make you the next superstar. It will not. But if you take that time that you spent building all that muscle, actually working on your game and your skills, that will take you much further than any time spent in the weight room. I mean, that's not what people want to hear, but that's the truth.
Particularly if you're a younger player.
Yeah. When you get into like playing college or maybe even like super competitive traveling team basketball when you're like a senior in high school, maybe that will give you a little bit of help. But you see all these guys that are not just bulky monsters, Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant and people like that, where you could probably push them over if you tried hard enough, but they have the skills and they have the body awareness and they have the conditioning and they have the functional training and the core strength and all that stuff built up so that they don't need to be the guy that's benching 300 pounds. I mean, it doesn't help their game. They spent more time working on their actual skills. So that's what I would say. Don't work or worry so hard about getting in the weight room.
Right. It's
not like football where that's like a big emphasis.
Yeah.
People put too much of an emphasis on that for young people in basketball. Okay, that was a long rant, but that's how I feel. And like I said, I'm in the gym all the time. So I just think that it's better serving you if you actually spend time working on your game. Okay, this one is from Rebound King, who says, "Hey, Coach, first off, thank you for the advice on shots and drives. Both have improved, and my shot is getting back to how it was." That's great. I need help urgent. I'm trying out for this team in Australia. They have a team that's amazing and a development squad. My goal is to make the development squad, as I know I probably won't be able to make the team. Please tell me what to do to have the best chances. They'll put me as either a small forward or power forward, even though I'm 6'2" at 15, if that helps. Okay, there's a few things in here that we can talk about. Mm-hmm. The first is, don't worry about your positions. You are not going to make that decision.
Yeah.
We always tell players that the best thing that you can do is make yourself a valuable player. So be the best, well-rounded, all-around player that you can be. You should be able to play in the post, play on the perimeter, play great defense, be able to distribute the ball by passing, be able to have a solid dribble attack, all those things, and be able to shoot. You want to have all those things together because that means you can play almost anywhere. And it doesn't matter what your height is or whatever, but a coach will decide what position you actually play. Because you might think that, oh, I'll fit perfectly in as a small forward. Maybe he wants you to bring the ball up the court. If you're able to do that and there's nobody else to do it, then you get that spot. And maybe you beat out. Maybe that gives you a better chance because maybe there's 2 or 3 guys that are better than you that are going to be at that small forward position. So
right.
Don't limit yourself.
Right.
And then he's asking how to make that development squad. I think the stuff that you just talked about when it comes to how to make the team.
Exactly.
So I would say check out our Make the Team videos, and that will give you kind of the best insight that we can give you. There is no special trick. but I think if you go in there and you use those tips, especially showing the coach that you want to be there and you want to improve and actually will benefit the entire team, that's the best thing that you can do, right?
Play with effort and defend like a crazy person.
Yeah. Let's see. Conrad Price asks, I have a question. Who will win the Eastern Conference Finals, the Bulls or the Cavs? It's going to be a tough one. I don't know.
I don't know on that one either.
The Cavs kind of have to come together, and we'll see if that team has chemistry, really. But, Derrick Rose is coming back to the Bulls, and they're going to have a strong squad around him. I don't know. We'll have to see. I think it's going to be interesting to see Kevin Love playing with LeBron James because both those guys are great passers and distributors. So that might be. And Kyrie Irving is a great passer as well. But we'll see how that really works out. What do you think? Let us know.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is from Frank Kokesh, who says, "Hey coach, how do I practice my game if I have a broken arm?"
Oh,
Well, you only got one.
Yeah, unless both legs are broken. Listen, you can do way more than you think you can. I have a student who came to me a week or two ago, and he's 27 years old, and he wants to work on his game to the point he can go ahead and try to play on a team in Europe. And he's going to do that. He will. After he'd been here the first 2 times, he showed up the next time, and he was on crutches. And he had an injury that I've never seen before, and that was he dislocated 4 of his toes on one of his feet. And I mean, the second toe next to the big toe was completely dislodged, so it was over where the third toe would have been. I mean, it was horrible. He showed me the x-rays of it, and he said that he would probably not be able to get on that probably for 3 months. He was here this morning working, and he was on 2 feet and had gotten the boot off, and he's already starting to kind of get going. The one thing that you can do with a broken arm, though, is you can really work on your ball skills with your offhand. If it's your shooting hand, you can work on that weak hand and really get it going. I would spend time working on your shooting, working on your ball skills. And if it's your strong hand that you have available, then just continue to work on your shooting and all those. I mean, there's absolutely no excuse that I can think of where if you have a broken limb that you can't work on the other parts of your body. You can work on ball skills. You can work on foot skills. One of the things that people don't really think about in the game of basketball and probably most any other game short of swimming and that sort of thing is that they're all based around how you use your feet. You take a look at soccer players. I mean, just the footwork that soccer players use, and they have to learn how to do that. That's just amazing stuff. And so there's a lot you can do with a broken arm. Get busy.
I mean, you just got to work around it and be creative too. That's what you really need to do. I've had friends or other people that I've seen that have broken legs, broken both legs, or have dislocated shoulders, or have had whatever injury, tendonitis, tennis elbow, whatever. You have to work around that stuff, and that's just kind of part of the game. If you just check out and just say, well, guess I'm done practicing for until this is healed, then that's probably not the best thing. And you might if you break both arms and both legs, maybe you can have a break. But if you
could work on your abs, you can do sit-ups all day long, huh?
Yeah. Or study game tape or whatever. But really, just find a way to make it work. And maybe it's just sitting in a chair, pounding a basketball, and passing between your legs. If you have a broken arm, depends on which arm it is. Maybe you can work on getting your form really dialed in with a one-arm shooting drill. If it's your offhand, that's a great time to work on that offhand dribble and really get that hand kind of up to where it kind of competes with the strong hand. So make it happen. That's really the idea there. Okay, if you guys have questions, we need them. So send them to us here in the chat on YouTube, or you can send them to us in the Q&A app here on Google+. We would love to have some questions there, or tweet them at us. We haven't got very many Twitter questions this time, but if you ask on Twitter, we will respond. Okay, this one is from King J, who says, I have a friend who is extremely defensive and gets a lot of steals. His problem is just controlling the ball on a fast break as he tends to slow down. What tips can you give so I can inform him?
Well, if you're having trouble with dribbling on the fast break, that means a speed dribble, then you need to get out and spend time on speed dribble. One of the biggest problems that most players have, young players with fast break and dribbling the ball in the fast break, is they don't get the ball out in front of them. We need to take and get the ball out in front of our body so you don't overrun it. If you're sprinting down the floor and you're dribbling and you're keeping that dribble short and close to your body, pretty soon it's going to be so close to your body you're going to turn it over. One of the things that we talk about to all of our students regarding ball handling is this, is that once the ball gets in too close to your body, you lose contact or you lose control of the basketball. So keep it out and away unless you're trying to protect the basketball.
Yeah, so push it out, and also you need to learn how to take off that run-up speed when you actually get to the layup on the other end of the court.
Yeah.
And we talk about that in our Layups 101 video, where it really comes down to the footwork and learning how to lay it up soft. We like to do the underhand layup because you're able to kind of control how much energy you put in the ball when you put it up there. But check out that video. And also, the other thing that you can do is you can jump stop, especially if there's some guy running right along with you. You jump stop there, give him a head fake, and then go up. Maybe that'll give you a little bit more control too. So there's things that you can do, but you got to work on it too. Maybe is he spending any time on it? It's not something where maybe you could just tell him do this and he'll be fixed.
Yeah.
He might have to spend some time doing it. Okay, this one is from David Nguyen, who says, "Why do I feel like I always forget my shooting form?"
Well, you haven't got your shooting form established as muscle memory yet. One of the things that probably is really important is that you don't spend enough time on it. And what we recommend everybody do whenever they're working on their shot is to use our form shooting drill or Dennis Stanton's form shooting is pretty much the same thing, just from different spots, but it's all put around this whole idea that when you do something enough and you make sure that you have it down pat, pretty soon begins to become a matter of muscle memory. And it's not something that you can magically achieve. It just takes a lot of work on your part and being very aware of what you're doing. This new student that I mentioned a few minutes ago, he'd been a student of mine 10 years ago, and he didn't have much let's see, what am I looking for? The word I'm looking for. He wasn't interested in spending very much time on it, so he never really improved very much. Now he comes back to me and he says, I'm going to spend as much time as I can. You tell me what I need to do. And boy, has he got a hard start on it. And his form shooting after about 3 lessons now is really improving tremendously, just because he's putting effort into it. And not only just putting effort into it, he's making sure that his shooting mechanics are right on. If we go out there and we just shoot around using the form shooting drill, what happens is we don't ever really get very much better. What we need to do is pick out that shooting form that we know will work for us, and then we want to perfect that so that we get it down when we're in just stationary positions, and then we work on it where we're moving into the shot. Possibly we're catching and shooting, or we're dribbling into the shot. Those are things that we need to work on as well. But you don't forget your shooting form. It might, let's say that you stayed away from it for a month, and you came back to it and you're rusty for a couple of days, but that shooting form is not forgotten. It becomes just like riding a bicycle. Once you've done it, you can still go back to it. It might take a few days or maybe a week for you to take and get it right back up to speed, but it's still there. It didn't go away.
Yeah, and I think the real key is just consistency and repetition. So you should be working on it a little bit every single day and doing those things where you're doing the dial-in, the diligent kind of practice with the form shooting drill, and then the more game speed, game intensity stuff, you can kind of supplement that into. But you have to do it consistently. You can't just go in on Monday, put in your 6 hours on your shot, and then come back on Saturday and think it's all going to be there.
Yeah.
You can put 20, 30 minutes in every single day, spend probably the same amount of time doing it cumulatively, and you'll end up in much better shape because you're kind of putting the polish on it every single day.
Well, a thought that comes to my mind is you hear information like this about some of the best shooters in the world. They talk about Ray Allen and the fact that he goes out and he'll shoot 300, 400, 500 shots before a game. And Steph Curry, they've noted that he will go out and he'll shoot 1,000 shots before practice. That's probably got to take him a couple of hours to do that. But the thing is that he is working on muscle memory so that that stroke looks the same every time he shoots the basketball. That's one of the reasons why those guys are so incredibly good as shooters, that they spend a ton of time on it, working on those shooting skills, the shooting elements.
And one of the other things too that kind of popped in my mind is that you have to be present and analytical when you're doing your shooting, because if you're just going in and you're just kind of casually doing it, it's not really going to be ingrained. But if you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I got to make sure that I'm following through. I got to make sure that I'm kind of pulling my elbow in. I'm getting that slight stagger towards my shooting side. Kind of looking at yourself as your own coach will really help you get all of that stuff tied together, and it will help you be able to fix it down the road when there's some kind of little glitch or something like that. So you need to be getting the consistency, the repetitions, and kind of being analytical about your shooting, and that will help you take it to the next level.
Let me throw one more thing in. It's really important. One of the things that we do, and I've heard that a number of other shooting coaches around the country do this as well. We don't talk in terms of going out and shooting 300 shots. We talk in terms of making 300 shots. And that might take you 400 to make 300 when you begin. And then that number begins to come down as you get better and better at it. And so why the makes? Well, because then you're concentrating on getting the right elements for your shot every time you shoot it. And at each one of the spots in our shooting drill, our form shooting drill, we want you to make 10 really good strokes. And that means that all the elements that Casey's talking about here just a moment ago have to be a part of that. You can make the shot, but it's got a flat arc, don't count it. You can shoot the ball and it comes off the wrong fingers, don't count it. And so when you get all of those elements coming together and you're starting to make the shots with all of those, then you count those only.
Right. Okay. This one is from James Scott J, who is at Fish Are My Dish on Twitter. He says, "Who are each of your favorite NBA players and that are still playing?" And he's a big James fan, LeBron James. So, who is your favorite player?
I just really enjoy watching Kevin Durant an awful lot. I just really like the fact that he's so athletic. He is so long, and he shoots the ball really well. One of the things that I also like about him is that he doesn't often take bad shots. He takes shots that are good shots for him. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't pull up and shoot the ball from 26 feet, but he has the ability to do that. But I really like him as a basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kevin Durant a lot too. I think, guys, it's hard to have one favorite. I mean, that's kind of silly, but I really like Dirk Nowitzki and have for a long time. I really like Derrick Rose. He's one of those guys that when he's healthy, I mean, hopefully he comes back and he does great this year. But when he is playing, he's a dominant player, but he doesn't act like it. Yeah. And he's not beating his chest. He's not yelling at anybody. I mean, he goes out there and he just dominates, and doesn't have any kind of outside celebratory stuff going on, and that's awesome. I really like Tony Parker. I really like Tim Duncan. Kawhi Leonard's a new favorite. I sort of like him a couple of years ago when he was first started playing for the Spurs. You could see that he's one of those guys that does everything, and I really love Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I mean, it's hard to have a favorite.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good players that are fun to watch.
Yeah, do you have a favorite all-time player?
Favorite all-time player would be, actually two, Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. I just really enjoyed watching those guys play. One guy was just super athletic. They're both big, but super athletic, but what competitors they were.
Yeah, I really like Larry Bird is probably one of my tops, and Clyde Drexler. He was one of my childhood favorites. Okay, this one is from Paige Bose, who says, "What team do you guys like from the NBA?"
We just mentioned that a few minutes ago.
Well, we talked about players. Okay. We're from the Bay Area, so we're kind of Golden State.
We're Golden State guys.
Guys, yeah. But I like Dallas and the Spurs.
I like
it's really
Oklahoma.
Yeah, in Oklahoma, it's really teams with the players that kind of exemplify the teams that we like.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is from ATD27 in the chat. It says, "What are some drills to increase your vertical?" Well, you're in luck because we have a whole series of vertical jump videos that we put together. So it's multiple training videos that show you all the exercises that you need to really kind of be able to develop your vertical jump. Then we offer you guys the vertical jump handbook, which you can buy and download for under $5, and it shows you 3 months of daily workouts that will help you take your vertical jump to the next level, but also just your overall athleticism. So you'll be faster, quicker, more agile,
Explosive.
and explosive, and be able to jump higher as well.
Well,
And you have to put the work in, but it's really a great kind of progressive approach to developing your vertical without having all this extra equipment and junk that you need to throw in either. So
yeah, and not using weight training and whatnot. We're not real fans of that. We use body weight, and that seems to be really effective.
especially if you're younger.
Yeah, and it's not hard on your joints and that sort of thing either. But the key to this is certainly the fact that you take the handbook and you really follow it and work. And we've found that over the past 3 or 4 years that people report to us all the time about the kind of gains that they've made. Some people claim, others, not us, 5 inches in 3 weeks. That's not possible.
Well, it is. Oh,
No, it's
hold
not.
on.
It's not possible.
Hold on, it is, because one of the things that you will find, and here it's for us. We've kind of had certain things that will show that.
Yeah.
But what you can do is a lot of people will find that they lack flexibility,
Yep.
and they have all these deep adhesions. And what our program addresses is your lack of flexibility, and we help you go through dynamic stretches that will help you kind of unlock all the power that you have built up in your body already that you can't use because you're so bound up and not able to just fully utilize the muscles. And will also help you get rid of those adhesions, which also tie up your muscles. So a lot of people will...
Hang on. Give a little quick definition of adhesion.
Adhesions are just kind of like knots, essentially. It's like where bound up muscle is, and it's in just a tight contraction. And so it's already contracted. You can't use that in your the exertion of your muscles. It's bound up. But if you're able to use something like the foam rolling stuff that we show you in that, it will help you release that, and then all of a sudden you can use that athletically instead of having it just bound up all the time. And the thing is when you while a lot of people will see a lot like I don't know how to put this, but a lot of people will see kind of initial boost in their vertical, like maybe 2 or 3 inches almost in the first week or two, and a lot of that is because they've worked out this flexibility / adhesions issue. And so you'll see this big boost in the very beginning,
Right.
and then after that you have to really work hard to get kind of more out of it. But the initial boost is a lot of times just because of the flexibility issues. And we think that we really address kind of the full spectrum of all that stuff. We talk about the stability, mobility, strength, and power, and we try to give you the best approach to it as possible. We're not like sending you out to do 400-pound squats. I mean, we really aren't into that, and that's starting at the power segment when we think you have to build a better foundation initially with these flexibility and stability pillars first. So that's really what we think is the best thing to do. You may see a big jump in the beginning, and then you have to work for more, or it may be something where you don't see much in the very beginning, and then you start to see things pick up as you go. It really depends on the person. Everybody's different. Yeah. But we've had people report. Normally, what we have is people reporting back like 4 to 6 inches over that 6-month period. 6 inches kind of being that's incredible to get 6 inches.
That's a huge.
And we've had a handful of people that have said 10 plus inches on their after their training, and they probably have continued on after that as well. But that's a few kind of exceptions. Yeah. If anybody else is telling you yes, you'll get 10 inches in a month or something like that, that's not true. That's not possible, really. So we really think that if you put in the work, you can gain 4 to 6 inches doing that program, and that's a huge amount when you're talking about your vertical jump. It might not sound like a bunch, but I mean that's a lot.
Well, if you're just touching the rim with your fingertips and you get 6 inches, you've got your wrist now over the basket. So That's the difference.
Yeah, so make sure you go check out our vertical jump videos and the vertical jump handbook.
Right.
Okay, send us your questions, you guys. Let's see, what do we got going here? This one is from 35 Sharpshooter, who says, I'm going into my freshman year in high school. Do you have any tips on how to learn coaches' plays faster?
You know, that's a tough one. One of the things that you can do is ask them if they have a playbook that you can take and study. Or you can maybe talk to them, sit down and have them draw out the plays for you that you can take home and study. But that's exactly how I think I would approach it. You know, some players have difficulty in visualization of plays and what their responsibilities are in certain situations. And some people just have real difficulty with doing that. Others find it very easy. I don't remember having any real difficulty with that myself, and the reason I don't is I could remember who did what on every play years after I finished playing. And but some players I know, their brains don't work that way. I had one of our players this last year who struggled in fact, 2 years trying to remember plays after the first or second or third option. Then he was lost. And it's just because some people are able to retain that, others aren't. But I would have the coach take and give you some of his plays, and what I would do is sit down with him and draw them out. And that probably will help you a whole bunch and learn how to run those plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that you can do, and one of those things is writing them out and just maybe doing it repetitively yourself and seeing, okay, this is, I call out this play and this is what I have to do, blah, 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 and you draw it out yourself so that you can visualize it. Maybe the other thing you can do is get your family members involved, get them lined up and have them run through the plays with you, and you try to work it out that way so that you kind of get the repetitions there. Or, I mean, the best thing you can do, just go talk to your coach, like you were saying, and say, I think I need a little bit more. You don't have to say, I can't figure out these plays. I'm so dumb. Oh, I mean, that's not the case.
No.
It's just that's maybe not your strength. So what you can say is something like, hey, coach, I was just wondering if maybe we could go over the plays a little bit more, maybe spend a little bit more time kind of working on those so that we can get that dialed in. I really need to put more time into that. He might spend more time in practice working on them, and he might also spend extra time with you working on it. So you really just need to put it out there and kind of work with your coach to get a better idea of how to get that all dialed in.
Yeah, this is a typical problem, too, for players who maybe aren't the top 5 or top 10 players, because they don't get the repetitions oftentimes that the other guys who play regularly do. So go see the coach. That's the best answer to that one.
This one is from Alexander Vidakovic, who says, hello, I'm new to basketball and I'm 15 years old and I'm training basketball for a year. And in my country, I'm basically new and I'm the runner. I'm very fast and I get points off fast break, but how can I use my speed in normal attacks? I think
there's something that is really important to kind of remember about I think it was the normal attacks. Is that what he said?
Yeah, just like set attacks.
Normal
probably.
Attacks. When normal attacks, I'm going to assume that you're talking about half-court offense, where you're playing on your end of the court and you're running through different motions or plays and whatnot. You don't have to run through those really fast, but anytime that you are making cuts, you want to make the cuts very aggressive. And you learn how to do that just by doing it. And one of the things that I can remember that John Wooden, and if you don't know who John Wooden is, you might Google him and find out who he is, probably one of the most famous coaches in American basketball, maybe the world. And he always had this one saying. He says, be in a hurry, but don't rush. Okay? He wanted you to slow down just a little bit so you're under control. Work hard, go hard, but be under control.
Yeah, and I think that the key here is learn to move without the ball. That will help you get some space, and also develop a couple dribble attacks that are kind of the ones that you feel like will be the best to you. And what we always say is to get maybe 2 or 3 dribble attacks that you like, and then a counter to each of those. So if you like the crossover drill or the crossover dribble, what you can use as a counter to that is the in and out. Because it looks like the crossover dribble. So if you have both of those in your pocket, you'll be able to go one way or the other, be able to bait the defender, and he'll respond a different way to each of those. So work on that stuff is really key.
Okay,
But getting experience too.
Right. By the way, Alexander, your English is fine.
Yeah.
We got you.
My pronunciation of your name was more deplorable, I think. Let's see. Lightning round.
Okay. Woo!
Okay. This one is from David Machiavelli, who says, how can I be better at defense? How can I pressure without getting passed by on a crossover?
Okay. Well, if you go take a look at our defensive videos.
Defense 101.
101. You're going to find there how you move to keep yourself in position. And one of the things that we mentioned in there, I believe, in that video is the fact that you really help yourself by having a squared up stance to the offensive player as opposed to having 1 foot advance of the other. And years ago, when I was a real young coach, what you did is you always attacked the foot that was the furthermost ahead. So if you're over on the left side of the court and the right foot is up, then the offensive player is probably going to attack that foot. So now defense has kind of evolved a little bit now where you keep a squared up stance, and this allows you a little bit more time to react and keep yourself in front of that defender. And one of the things that I think we mentioned in there is the fact that you want to take and work really hard to keep that offensive player between your knees. Don't let him get over on outside of one of your legs at all. Always move your feet and keep him between your knees. The other thing is you'll find in there's some discussion because you mentioned the crossover here.
Lightning round.
I know. But that other item is the rip and tip hands. And
that gives you a hand in the passing lane and a hand
in the crossover lane.
Yeah. Where they try to cross the ball over.
Okay.
Two things really quick. I will say beat them to the spot.
Yeah.
So if they're going somewhere, get there before they do and cut them off. And 2, don't let them get the ball in the first place. And that's how you really stop the defense. Get out there in the passing lane. Make it tough on them. Don't let them catch the ball. And that's really the best thing you can do. Let's see. This one is from Jose Macareg, who says, hey, Coach, I'm a good shooter and a rebounder as a guard, but the thing I need to work on is my defensive shuffle and attacking the basket. Do you guys have any tips or drills you guys can recommend? I need to keep up with my opponent when I'm guarding someone. Check out our Defense 101 video because we show you how to work on that, and our dribble attack videos, or just our offensive move playlist.
Yeah.
We have a ton of stuff in there. But in terms of like the defensive stuff, it's a step drag, and you just have to work at it to really kind of be able to utilize it quickly. But you'll get it. Okay, this one is from David Nguyen. What do you think about people who try to jump their highest every time they shoot? Does it affect your shot negatively?
It affects your shot negatively. What happens is that your whole body tenses up when you try to jump higher. And here's the thing that's really interesting. People talk about jumping higher. You can only jump as high as you can jump. And trying to jump higher than that only binds up all the muscles in your body. And when it does that, then your shooting stroke usually is going to be kind of aggressive, and you won't have that relaxed release.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is that if you're having to jump higher to get a better shot, it's not a good shot.
Yeah, it's not a good shot.
You should be taking a shot where you are open and not contested. If you are contested to the point where you have to out jump the guy, that is not a good shot.
Right.
Okay.
By the way, see our video on what is a good shot.
Yeah, and how what height to jump, or what is a release point for shooting or something?
Shot,
yeah, that's another one. Okay, this one is from ATD27. How to improve your consistency? Like one day I'm pretty good, but some days I feel like I'm in a slump.
Hey, you're no different than anybody else. Nobody's perfect every day. One of the things that happens is sometimes we have those days when things just are not functioning properly for you. And just keep working through it, and you probably find that the following day you're going to kind of be back to normal and things are working well. Just don't allow it to bring you down, because everybody has a down day when it comes to shooting. Everybody.
Yep, and the thing about it is that your average is over time. It's not day by day.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe one day you'll shoot 60%, and the next day you'll shoot 35%. Yeah. Eventually, it all evens out. Okay, this one is from DGK Steez in the chat, who says, I'm placed at the point position from a big. What part of my skills should I enhance or work on?
Wow.
Stop worrying about positions, number one.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you probably have your post play and all that stuff kind of dialed in. You need to work on your ball handling, your ability to distribute the ball, and kind of your awareness or court awareness.
Yeah, your vision and court awareness are really important. And being able to handle the ball under pressure, real important for a point guard.
Yeah, and the basic thing that we always say is don't worry about the position. Develop your skills, be an all-around valuable player, be undeniable, and then it won't matter what position you play.
Surely.
Okay, last question of today. This one is from Adib Khan on Facebook, who says, we all talk about the shooting hand. What about the offhand? How do you correct that?
I love this one. I hope we can do this quickly.
Yep.
That offhand is often referred to as the guide hand. That's probably one of the biggest misnomers that we come across in shooting. That guide hand, more often than not, is the screw-up hand. Because what happens is that when that hand stays in contact with the ball as you're into the release of the shot, is that this thumb tends to finish like this, and it causes the ball to have sideways rotation. And it also affects the accuracy. One of the things that you will find in watching really good shooters is the fact that when they get right to the end, this hand pulls away, and it is a one-handed shot.
Or as they just start to elevate, it falls away.
Yeah, and so don't allow that to put up. We call that and the assist hand. Excuse me. And the assist hand only because it assists us in picking the ball up and getting it ready to go. After that, its role is done. Get the hand out of the way.
Yep, and you can work on that doing the form shooting drill and getting your hand off the ball. You should be able to shoot with one hand, no problem. And Dennis Stanton's drill works on that as well, too. Okay, so that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Thanks so much for all your questions. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we ran out of time like we usually do. So if you want your question answered, you can catch us all during the week on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. You can catch us on Facebook, Google+. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and hopefully you're following us on all those places. Instagram, we're on there too. Make sure you follow us all those places because we're posting stuff pretty much every single day, and we want to hear from you guys. And if you want to catch us next week, we will be back at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, and share with your friends and family so we can get cool guests on. We've had Danny Green from the San Antonio Spurs. We've had Slick Willie Shaw from the Harlem Globetrotters. We've had a bunch of college coaches, and we've had a bunch of coaches that help get kids into college from traveling teams and stuff like that.
And a pro coach, too.
Yep. And, yeah, for sure. So make sure that you guys are following us and sharing because that only helps everything. Okay, so we will see you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
See ya.